The treasure was beyond anyone's wildest dream. It contained everything the young pharaoh would need in his afterlife and even more. Surprisingly, the pharaoh's tomb contained artifacts that are still unexplainable that point the way to some extraterrestrial connection. Yes, you heard that right. There were objects in King Tut's tomb that could have been out of this world. It was late 1922. The British archaeologist Howard Carter was close to despair. He had spent decades combing the sands of the Egyptian desert with almost nothing to show for his work. His sponsor, a man named Lord Carnarvon, had wasted 5 years and a lot of money supporting Carter's work. Now Carnarvon was ready to pull the plug on the whole project. But just on the verge of giving up, a simple but shocking discovery was made by Carter's team. They found a single stone step carved into the bedrock in the Valley of Kings. A few days later, one step turned into 12. Beyond those steps was a sealed plaster doorway covered in ancient Egyptian impressions, revealing the name of the pharaoh buried inside, hidden away for 3,300 years. And the name was Tutankhamun. Pharaoh Tutankhamun, also referred to as King Tut, was only 9 years old when he ascended to the throne of Egypt's 18th dynasty in 1332 BC. He was the last of his royal family to exercise governance. Sadly, his reign as pharaoh was brief. King Tut died at the age of 19, and for thousands of years his name was forgotten. Despite his reign lasting only 10 years, the young ruler is famous due to the discovery of his tomb. Every pharaoh constructed his tomb during his reign, but as King Tut died early, it is believed that he was buried in a tomb that was built for someone else. The discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb was quite unique, as this tomb was the only royal tomb found with seals intact. When Carter finally broke upon the tomb, the world for the first time saw the real secrets of Egypt. The discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun would be the most astonishing archaeological find of all time. King Tut's tomb had 4 main rooms: the antechamber, the annex, the burial chamber, and the treasury room. Carter made an interesting discovery. He determined that the Tut's tomb was actually not untouched. Based on the holes in the doorway and objects found scattered, Carter guessed it had been probably raided twice in the early years after Tut's death and burial. But the precious items were protected inside, since tomb raiders couldn't get to the major rooms. The ancient Egyptians believed they needed to fill it with all the stuff that a ruler might need in his afterlife. King Tut's tomb was extraordinarily stuffed with gold treasures and priceless artifacts. Nearly 5,400 cultural, political, religious, and historical objects were found inside, including foods, jars of beer, wine, royal garments, a mannequin that may have helped the boy king choose what to wear, statues of gods, numerous pieces of jewelry, alabaster perfume vessels filled with rare and expensive unguents, cups, ivory headrest with the figure of god Shu holding the sky over his head, gold buckle depicting the pharaoh riding on his chariot, golden fan, 4 board games including the game of 20 and Senet made of ivory, 2 beds, one having the depiction of cows in it. Cows were associated with the goddess Hathor in ancient Egypt, and even mummies of Tutankhamun's 2 stillborn daughters. You will be surprised to know that it took Carter and his team almost a decade to catalog and remove all the ancient artifacts found within this relatively small tomb. The young pharaoh's tomb was furnished with never before seen riches, many of which are pure gold. Gold wasn't all about just showing off one's wealth. To the ancient Egyptians, it was the key to immortality. Life and death in ancient Egypt were really close intertwined, so the pharaohs would take with them things from life into death. The treasure was beyond anyone's wildest dream. It contained everything the young pharaoh would need in his afterlife and even more. Surprisingly, the pharaoh's tomb contained artifacts that are still unexplainable that point the way to some extraterrestrial connection. Yes, you heard that right. There were objects in King Tut's tomb that could have been out of this world. Let's witness the most incredible treasures found inside the tomb of Tutankhamun. The burial chamber contained a quartz sarcophagus. Inside this quartzite box, there were 3 nested mummy-shaped coffins, one inside of another. The 2 outer ones of gold, hammered over wooden frames decorated with semi-precious stones like turquoise and lapis lazuli. While the last one, the most precious one, the amazing one, which actually contained the pharaoh's mummy, was made of solid gold weighing over 225 kgs. Astonishing, right? All 3 coffins showed Tutankhamun with a long beard and holding a crook and flail, the symbols of the king's right to rule. Altogether, the coffins collectively weighed about 1.25 tons. King Tut's tomb included a canopic chest entailing 4 miniature coffin jars of gold placed in a solid block of calcite, each containing an internal organ of the deceased pharaoh, such as the liver and lungs that were removed during the mummification process. These organs were embalmed to stave off putrefaction. It was believed that the king would require these organs in his afterlife. It's no surprise Anubis was found in King Tut's tomb. The jackal-headed Egyptian god is associated with the art of mummification and greeting departed souls into the next life. The canine was also thought to be an effective guard for the grave. Measuring about 3 feet, the statue is made of wood and black resin adorned with gold. Tutankhamun's mummy was found wearing gold sandals measuring about 11.6 inches in length. However, it's likely these sandals were not for kicking around the house, but rather designed specifically for his burial. Another pair of sandals found in his tomb with pictures of his captured enemies, probably a Syrian and a Nubian, on the sole. When he walked in them, he also trod upon Egypt's enemies depicted on the sole. The most significant aspect of being a king is his mighty throne, and King Tut's final resting place was not devoid of it. Not just one, but two thrones were found in his tomb. One was made of ebony, and the other throne, called the Golden Throne, was made of wood covered in gold, semi-precious stones, and glass. King Tut's 1 meter tall throne depicts the royal couple with the queen anointing the king. Among the incredible objects discovered in Tut's tomb was a protective scarab pendant that pays homage to the sun god Ra. This beautiful pendant also features the vulture goddess Nekhbet holding the hieroglyphic sign for infinity. The hugely popular creature among all Egyptians, the beetle, is made by a single greenish yellow gemstone, originally thought to be semi-precious stone chalcedony. However, modern researchers determined that it's not a stone at all, but a type of extraterrestrial glass created by a meteorite that crashed into the silica-rich sands of the Grand Sand Sea billions of years ago. Known as Libyan desert glass, this material was valued by the ancient Egyptians as having celestial origins. Known as the Beautiful Face, the Lord of Truth, the Master of Justice, and the Lord of Eternity, Blue-capped Ptah was the creator god and the patron of craftsmen and architects, those who build the tomb and everything it contains. King Tut's tomb included not only his personal belongings but also his chariots. Not just one, but 6 chariots were found, including his personal one. All the chariots were disassembled and placed within his tomb, but after discovery, they were reassembled. The royal chariot has image of 6 foreign captives on its right side, as well as the hieroglyphs with the names of King Tutankhamun and the Queen 𝐏𝐡𝐚𝐫𝐚. It also has an image of a solar falcon with a hieroglyphic inscription saying that the falcon represents Horus, an Egyptian god associated with the sun. This entire design may be interpreted as the appearance of the royal couple adored by the people of Egypt, ensuring the life and stability of the king and queen under the sun god who is hovering above and protecting them. Pharaoh Tutankhamun was buried with 2 daggers wrapped inside his mummy's bandages, one with a gold blade and the other with an iron blade. The gold dagger was tucked around his waist, whereas the second was tied to the king's thigh. While there had already been significant amount of gold discovered in his tomb, this was the only object believed to be of iron. The presence of anything made of iron immediately piqued the interest of scientists. Iron was extremely valuable at that time and valued more than gold. And despite having access to a wide variety of metals, the ancient Egyptians did not have easy access to iron. This made scientists scratch their heads for decades. The iron dagger found was an astonishing discovery because the iron uses and smelting process started centuries after King Tut's death. Not only that, but to everyone's amazement, the dagger was free of rust even after 3,300 years of the king's death. High concentrations of nickel and cobalt were found in the iron, which according to their explanation clearly supported an extraterrestrial origin of this dagger. The gold dagger was an expensive dagger made with an earthly metal. But the iron used for the other dagger is costlier than the gold itself. This is because the iron used in the dagger was otherworldly. Back then, Egyptians may have considered the meteorite as a gift from the gods, and thus the metal would have been used for a pharaoh's weapon. Inside the incredible golden coffin was an even greater treasure. It was the face of a 3,300-year-old pharaoh. This piece you are looking now is the most expensive piece of antiquities on the planet, the 11-kilogram golden death mask of the young Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun. Placed on King Tut's face, the 21-inch long ornate mask was manufactured mainly from gold, inlaid with semi-precious stones and lapis lazuli. The eyes are produced from obsidian and quartz. The mask depicts Tutankhamun with a long beard and a headdress wearing a cobra and a vulture. Of course, the final and the most important thing contained in the tomb is the pharaoh himself. The mummified body of King Tut had been analyzed by medical experts, and it was concluded that the young ruler was apparently died from malaria. That's all for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. I will be happy to know your opinion about this video. Thanks for watching.